The first time Dr. Amelia Hart kissed someone in the hospital, it wasn't a patient, it was a nurse. And it happened right next to the supply closet that smelled faintly of disinfectant and lavender hand soap. Funny thing about hospitals, people think they're full of life and healing. But to Amelia, it often felt like a battlefield of slow deaths and small miracles. She'd learned to build walls thick, sterile, honesto, keep from feeling too much. Until Lena came along. Lena Rivera was the kind of nurse who could calm a screaming child with just her voice. She smiled through double shifts, remembered everyone's coffee order, and somehow managed to make the endless beeping of machines feel less like noise and more like a heartbeat. Amelia noticed her long before she admitted it. Their first real conversation happened at 3 a.m., during a code blue that ended in heartbreak. Patient hadn't made it. As the monitors fell silent, Amelia clenched her jaw, already preparing for the next one. But Lena stood beside her, eyes glassy yet soft. "You don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt," she'd said quietly, handing Amelia a cup of lukewarm coffee. Amelia almost laughed. "If I let it hurt every time, I wouldn't survive this job." "Maybe that's the problem," Lena murmured. That was how it started, not with fireworks, not with a grand confession, but with two exhausted women standing over a deathbed, realizing they were both still alive. Days turned into nights, and nights into something in between. They began finding each other in the margins of Chowsin, the break room, the stairwell, the parking lot after rain. Lena always had a way of softening the edges of Amelia's world. When Amelia barked orders too sharply, Lena didn't flinch. When she broke down after losing a young mother during surgery, Lena didn't offer empty comfort. She just sat beside her, close enough that Amelia could feel her warmth seep through the cold hospital air. One night, after a grueling 18-hour shift, Amelia collapsed on a bench outside the ER. Her hands trembled from exhaustion. Lena appeared, holding 2 paper cups. "You look like hell," she said with a tired grin. "Thanks. Just what every woman wants to hear." They both laughed quietly, like it was something sacred. Then came silence, the kind that said more than words ever could. Lena looked up at the sky. "Do you ever wonder if we're allowed to be happy? People like us spend our lives fixing everyone else's pain." Amelia turned to her. "I used to think happiness was a luxury. Now I think it's a choice. And what would you choose?" Amelia didn't answer. She just looked at Lena, really looked at her, the stray hairs escaping her bun, the smudge of mascara under her eyes, the steady rise and fall of her chest. Something inside Amelia cracked like a dam giving way. She leaned forward. Their lips met. It wasn't perfect, more desperate than graceful, but it felt real. It felt earned. When they pulled apart, Lena's eyes were wide. "Amelia, we can't people talk." "It's not. I don't care," Amelia whispered. "Not right now." But the world didn't pause for their love. Hospitals never do. Rumors spread faster than infection. A fellow doctor, a man Amelia had once mentored, saw them together and made a joke that wasn't funny. Soon whispers slithered through the halls. Dr. Hart and Nurse Rivera. You know. Administration noticed. Patients noticed. And slowly Lena began to retreat. "Maybe we should be more careful," she said one evening, avoiding Amelia's gaze. "Careful," Amelia repeated. "You mean pretend?" "Amelia, I love what we have, but I can't risk my job. You know how they look at me already, like I don't belong here." "You belong with me," Amelia said, voice cracking. Lena shook her head. "You don't get it. You have a name here. I'm just a nurse. That's not fair. Neither is life." The argument ended with slammed doors and silence. For days they avoided each other, speaking only through charts and medical notes. The absence was louder than any fight. Then came the night of the storm. A massive accident flooded the ear, sirens, stretchers, chaos. Lena and Amelia worked side by side, wordless but synchronized. They saved who they could, lost who they couldn't. And when it was finally over, when the rain quieted and the floors gleamed under fluorescent lights, they found themselves alone again, surrounded by the smell of antiseptic and blood. Lena's hands were trembling as she removed her gloves. Amelia watched her, chest tight. "Lena," she whispered, stepping closer. "I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of pretending what I feel isn't real." Lena looked up, tears brimming. "And if being real costs us everything?" Then at least it's ours, Amelia said. The next second, Lena was in her arms shaking, crying, laughing all at once. Their foreheads touched, and for the first time in months, the world didn't feel so cruel. I don't care who sees anymore, Lena murmured. Let them talk. Amelia smiled through her tears. Let them. Outside, dawn began to break, the kind of pale, fragile light that promised a new day. Inside, two women stood in the quiet of a hospital hallway, surrounded by the echoes of what they'd been through. They didn't need grand declarations or vows. Just a heartbeat shared between them, steady and sure. Because sometimes, love doesn't bloom in candlelight. Sometimes it grows between shifts, quietly, bravely, beautifully. For the first time in weeks, Amelia woke up before her alarm. The soft gray light of morning filtered through the blinds of her small apartment. She sat on the edge of her bed, still in yesterday's scrubs, staring at the coffee mug on her nightstand. It read, "Do no harm, a gift from Lena." Her fingers traced the chipped letters absently. That night at the hospital, when they'd finally stopped pretending, kept replaying in her mind like a fever dream. The way Lena's hands had shaken. The way her voice had broken when she said, "Let them talk." Amelia wanted to believe it meant something permanent, something they could hold on to. But hospitals had a way of taking things that weren't nailed down. Time, peace, people. Love wasn't immune. By the time she arrived at work, the air felt different. Conversations stopped when she entered a room. Eyes followed her. In the cafeteria, two interns whispered, their heads bent together. She caught one phrase as she passed. The nurse with the doctor, followed by a stifled laugh. Amelia didn't confront them. She just kept walking, her spine rigid, her face unreadable. Years of professionalism made that easy. But inside, a storm brewed. She found Lena in the supply room labeling 4 bags. The air was thick with the smell of antiseptic and tension. "You've heard the rumors," Amelia said quietly. Lena didn't look up. "Everyone has." Amelia stepped closer. "I don't care about them. I care about you." "That's exactly why I'm scared," Lena replied, finally meeting her eyes. "They can hurt you, Amelia. You have more to lose than I do." "Don't say that," Amelia snapped, more sharply than intended. "You matter just as much as I do." Lena sighed. "Then let's prove it. But not by fighting them. By surviving them." Amelia wanted to argue, but there was a steadiness in Lena's voice she couldn't challenge. She'd seen that same steadiness when Lena comforted dying patients, gentle, unwavering, quietly brave. "Okay," Amelia said finally. "We survived them." For the next few weeks they lived in fragments. Brief touches in the hallway. Shared glances over patient charts. Midnight texts that read, "Still awake," followed by "always." It wasn't enough, but it was real. Then came the disciplinary hearing. An anonymous complaint had been filed against them, unprofessional conduct, and compromised ethics. The words made Amelia's stomach turn. They sat side by side in front of the review board, a panel of 6 senior doctors and administrators. The air felt clinical, judgmental. "Dr. Hart," one of the men began, his voice smooth as glass, "we have reason to believe your relationship with Nurse Rivera has influenced patient care." "That's a lie," Amelia said instantly. "We've never—" "Please, doctor," the man interrupted. "We're not questioning your medical competence. But personal relationships in the workplace can create complications." Lena's hands clenched in her lap. Amelia reached for her under the table, fingers brushing against hers. A silent rebellion. "Do you deny that you and Nurse Rivera are involved in a romantic relationship?" Another board member asked. Amelia opened her mouth, but Lena spoke first. "Yes," she said. "I deny it." Amelia froze. The room went silent. The board exchanged glances. Notes were written. A gavel tapped lightly. "You're free to go," the chairman said. Outside, in the empty corridor, Amelia turned to Lena. "Why did you do that?" Lena's eyes glistened. "Because if I hadn't, they would have suspended you. Maybe worse. You worked your whole life for this. I can't be the reason you lose it." "You think I care about a title?" Amelia's voice trembled with fury and heartbreak. "You think I'd rather keep my job than you?" "Amelia, please." "No." Amelia stepped back, shaking her head. "You're not protecting me. You're destroying us." Lena didn't follow when Amelia walked away. The weeks that followed blurred into exhaustion. Amelia buried herself in work, volunteering for extra shifts, avoiding the cafeteria, avoiding her own heart. Lena, too, kept her distance. She transferred to a different department, pediatrics. Amelia knew because she caught glimpses of her now and then, reading to a child in recovery or laughing softly in the hallway. It was torture watching her from afar. But one night changed everything. It was late past midnight. Amelia was finishing a consult when the overhead speaker blared. Code blue. Pediatrics. Room 214. Her heart dropped. She ran. When she arrived, chaos erupted around a tiny hospital bed. A little girl, Emily, she remembered, wasn't breathing. Nurses moved in sync, one of them being Lena. Their eyes met across the chaos just for a heartbeat, and that was all it took. They worked together like they always had, seamless, fierce, desperate. Amelia called for epinephrine. Lena handed it off. Amelia pressed down on the girl's chest, rhythm steady until a gasp. A tiny trembling breath. The monitor beeped. A heartbeat. The room exhaled as one. Amelia stepped back, drenched in sweat, heart pounding. She looked at Lena. There were tears in her eyes, not from fear but relief. Without thinking, Amelia reached out and pulled her into a hug. For a moment the world disappeared. Just two hearts still beating, still stubbornly alive. Lena whispered, "You saved her." Amelia shook her head. "We did." That was the night they stopped pretending again. They didn't talk much after that, not about the board, or the rumors, or the risk. They just were. They found comfort in quiet corners, in shared coffee, in moments that felt like stolen light. But even stolen light has consequences. Dr. Allen, the same colleague who'd started the gossip, cornered Amelia one afternoon outside the OR. "You're playing with fire, Hart," he said. "People talk. Administration's watching you." Amelia's patience snapped. "You should focus on your patients, not my personal life." He smirked. "Personal life? You mean your nurse?" She stepped closer, voice low and cold. "Say one more word, and I'll file a harassment complaint so fast your head will spin." He sneered but backed off. Still, the damage was done. That night, Lena showed up at Amelia's apartment. She didn't knock. She just walked in and dropped her bag. "I can't keep running," she said. "If we're going to lose everything, I want to lose it honestly." Amelia froze, then laughed, a sound halfway between relief and disbelief. "You have no idea how long I've waited to hear you say that." They stood there for a moment, breathing each other in. Then Lena stepped forward, her hands on Amelia's face. "I love you," she said simply. Amelia's eyes softened. "Say it again." "I love you." And then they were kissing slowly, deeply, like time had finally stopped punishing them. It wasn't the desperate kind of kiss from the supply closet. It was steadier, fuller, laced with everything they'd been through. That night, for the first time, they allowed themselves to just be. No pretense. No hiding. Just two women who had carried too much for too long, finally choosing to put each other down gently. The morning after, sunlight painted soft lines across the room. Lena traced lazy circles on Amelia's bare shoulder. "What happens now?" she asked. Amelia smiled faintly. "Now we live. Whatever that looks like." But they both knew it wouldn't be easy. Within days, Amelia received a letter from the board, an official warning for boundary concerns. Lena's schedule was shifted again, this time to the night rotation. A quiet punishment disguised as protocol. Still, they endured. Between shifts, they found each other. A text. A glance. A 5-minute coffee break that felt like a lifetime. And in those small fragments, love survived. But life, as always, had one more test. A flu outbreak hit the hospital, merciless and fast. Staff shortages, overflowing wards, exhaustion everywhere. Amelia and Lena barely saw each other for 2 weeks. When they finally did, Lena looked pale, her voice rough. "You should go home," Amelia said, concern flickering across her face. "I'm fine," Lena insisted. "We're short-staffed. The kids need me." 2 days later, Lena collapsed during a shift. Amelia was in surgery when she got the call. By the time she reached the infirmary, Lena was in a hospital bed, and 4 in her arm, her skin too warm. "Dehydration and fever," the attending said. "She'll be okay, but she needs rest." Amelia sat beside her, gripping her hand. "You scared me." Lena gave a weak smile. "Guess it's my turn to be the patient." Don't joke, Amelia said, her voice cracking. Lena squeezed her hand gently. Hey, look at me. I'm okay. Amelia nodded, blinking back tears. You'd better be. I can't lose you, Lena. Not after everything. Lena's smile softened. You won't. And for once Amelia believed her. Days later, Lena was back on her feet. The hospital's chaos slowly subsided, and so did the whispers. People moved on to new gossip, new stories. The world forgot. But Amelia didn't. She remembered every small act of defiance, every touch, every look that had kept them alive through the storm. Because love, she realized, doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers between heartbeats, between shifts, between the moments when the world isn't watching. And maybe that was enough. Autumn crept in quietly that year. The kind of gentle chill that made the air taste clean. The hospital courtyard was speckled with fallen leaves, amber, gold, and a few defiant reds that refused to fade. Amelia stood by the window of her office, coffee in hand, watching the trees sway. For once, the world outside seemed slower than her heartbeat. She hadn't seen Lena in 3 days. Not because of avoidance this time, but because Lena was finally taking time off doctor's orders, Amelia's orders. The silence left a strange ache in her chest, like she'd forgotten how to breathe properly without that soft, steady presence nearby. A knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. Dr. Hart. She turned to see Dr. Patel, the hospital's new chief of staff, standing in the doorway with a polite smile. Do you have a moment? Of course, Amelia said, straightening her coat. Dr. Patel stepped inside, closing the door gently. I wanted to discuss the recent situation. Amelia stiffened. If this is about Nurse Rivera, it is, Dr. Patel interrupted softly. But not in the way you think. He set a folder on her desk. You and Nurse Rivera have both been the subject of unnecessary scrutiny. I've reviewed your records, your team reports, and your patient outcomes. There's no evidence of misconduct. Quite the opposite, your units have the highest success rate in the hospital. Amelia blinked. So, what are you saying? I'm saying this institution has bigger problems than who its best surgeon happens to care about. He smiled faintly. You've both earned your place here. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Relief washed over her like a slow tide. Thank you, she murmured. One more thing, Dr. Patel added, turning to leave. The hospital is hosting a charity gala next month. I expect both of you there. Bring a guest if you like. He winked. Amelia didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That evening, she drove to Lena's apartment. She hadn't planned, Tosh just found herself there, heart pounding against the steering wheel. When Lena opened the door, she looked startled. Amelia, you're supposed to be at work. I was. Then I realized I'd rather be here. Lena stepped aside, wordless, letting her in. The small apartment smelled like chamomile and laundry detergent. A cat new, apparently stretched lazily on the couch. You got a cat, Amelia said. Lena smiled. Her name's Pippa. She's terrible at listening but great at cuddling. Amelia chuckled, then turned serious. I talked to Dr. Patel today. Oh God, Lena said immediately. What did he say? That we're fine. Lena blinked. What? He said the board found no misconduct. He said we belong here. Amelia paused, voice softening. He told me to bring a guest to the gala. I was thinking, maybe I'll bring you. Lena stared at her, unsure if she'd heard right. Are you serious? Dead serious. For a moment, Lena just looked at her, the woman she'd loved quietly, fiercely, through months of fear and exhaustion. Then she laughed, the kind of laugh that broke the tension in the room like sunlight through clouds. You're impossible, she said, stepping closer. I'm consistent, Amelia corrected, smiling. I love you. That's all I know how to be. Lena's expression softened. You're also a terrible liar. You still check your pulse every time someone says the word bored. Old habits, Amelia murmured, brushing a strand of hair from Lena's face. But maybe it's time we stop living like we're waiting to be punished. Lena nodded, eyes shining. Then let's go to the damn gala. The night of the event, the hospital lobby had been transformed, crystal lights, jazz music, and polished marble floors that reflected everything like water. Doctors, nurses, and administrators mingled in formal wear, laughing a little too loudly, drinking a little too much champagne. When Amelia walked in with Lena on her arm, the room seemed to inhale. Lena wore a deep navy dress that caught the light with every movement. Her hair was pinned loosely, a few strands framing her face. Amelia couldn't stop looking at her. They drew glances, whispers, a few raised eyebrows. But no one dared say a word. Maybe it was the quiet authority in Amelia's posture, or the gentle calm in Lena's smile. Maybe people were simply tired of gossiping about love that clearly refused to break. Dr. Patel found them near the buffet table. "You both clean up well," he said cheerfully. "Try not to scandalize the board tonight, Lena laughed. "No promises." As the evening stretched on, Amelia found herself actually relaxing. They danced once awkwardly, then easily. When the band slowed into something softer, Lena leaned into her, head resting against Amelia's shoulder. For a moment, the hospital didn't exist. There were no patients, no shift rotations, no whispers. Just music and warmth and the simple miracle of being seen. Later, as they stood outside under the string lights, Lena looked up at the stars. "You know," she said, "I used to think this kind of happiness wasn't for people like us. That maybe we were meant to love in secret, quietly, carefully." Amelia turned to her. "And now? Now I think love that survives in silence deserves to be loud once in a while." Amelia smiled. "Then let's be loud." She kissed her right there, under the soft glow of 1,000 lights, in front of whoever happened to be watching. There was a quiet gasp from somewhere nearby, a polite cough, and then applause. Just a few claps, then more. The sound spread through the courtyard like a wave. Lena laughed through her tears. "You did that on purpose." Amelia grinned. "Absolutely." After that night, something shifted, not just for them, but for the people around them. The whispers faded, replaced by small nods of respect, of acceptance. The hospital didn't crumble. No one was fired. Life simply went on as it always does, only lighter somehow. Amelia and Lena fell into a rhythm that felt like peace. They still worked impossible hours, still faced heartbreak and loss, but now they faced it together, two steady hands in a world that never stopped shaking. They made coffee for each other before dawn. They shared stolen lunches on the rooftop, where the city skyline cut against the morning light. And on rare days off, they'd drive to the coast, no pagers, no charts, just ocean air and the sound of waves, pretending the world was simple. One morning, almost a year later, Amelia found Lena sitting by a patient's bedside in pediatrics. The chilled girl named Rosie was asleep, a book still open in her lap. Lena looked up and smiled softly. "You always find me," she said. "I try," Amelia replied, leaning against the doorway. "You missed lunch." Occupational hazard. Amelia walked over, lowering her voice. "You know, sometimes I think this place would fall apart without you." Lena laughed quietly. "Don't tell anyone, but sometimes I think the same." Amelia grinned. Then after a pause she added, "I was offered a promotion today. Chief of surgery." Lena's eyes widened. "Amelia, that's incredible." "I haven't accepted it yet," Amelia said softly. "Not until I know I can balance it. I don't want us to disappear into our work again." Lena reached for her hand. "You won't. We've learned how to stay." There was something in her voice, calm, grounded, that made Amelia believe her. That night, they returned to the rooftop, their quiet place. The city shimmered below, distant sirens echoing like lullabies. Lena rested her head against Amelia's shoulder, their fingers intertwined. "Do you ever think about how it all started?" Lena asked. "The nights, the chaos, the fear?" Amelia smiled faintly. "All the time. But mostly I think about how it didn't end there." Lena lifted her head. "We could have broken apart so many times." "We didn't," Amelia said. "And that's the thing about love, it's not about never breaking. It's about learning how to heal together." Lena nodded, eyes glistening. "You always know what to say." "I'm a doctor," Amelia teased. "I fix things." Lena laughed. "And what if the thing that's broken is you?" Amelia turned to her, eyes soft. "Then I have you." They stayed like that for a long time, watching the city lights flicker and fade. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain and jasmine. Somewhere far below, an ambulance wailed, a reminder that their world was never still, never simple. But here, between shifts, between all the chaos and exhaustion, they had carved out something rare. a place to rest. As dawn began to lighten the horizon, Amelia whispered, "You know what I love most about you?" Lena smiled sleepily. "My stunning sense of humor?" "No," Amelia said, brushing her thumb along Lena's cheek. "It's that you never stopped believing in me even when I stopped believing in myself." Lena leaned in, their foreheads touching. "That's what love is, Amelia. Believing when the world doesn't." Amelia's breath hitched. "Then I'll spend the rest of my life believing in you too." And there, as the first light of morning spilled across the rooftop, they kissed slow, certain, and infinite. Because love, they had learned, wasn't something to hide or to fight against. It was something to build quietly and deliberately, between all the broken pieces of life, between the long nights and longer days, between fear and hope, between shifts. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.